Hello, today we are reading Torah portion Re'eh, and this is found in the book of Deuteronomy from chapter 11 and verse 26 through chapter 16 and verse 17. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you shall listen to the mitzvot of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you this day, and the curse, if you shall not listen to the mitzvot of Yahweh your Elohim, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, to go after other Elohims which you have not known. It shall happen, when Yahweh your Elohim shall bring you into the land where you go to possess it, that you shall set the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Aren't they beyond the Yarden, beyond the way of the going down of the sun, in the land of Canaanim, who dwell in the Arava, over against Gilgal, beside the oaks of Moreh? For you are to pass over the Yarden, to go in to possess the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, and you shall possess it, and dwell therein. You shall observe to do all the statutes and the ordinances which I set before you this day. These are the statutes and ordinances which you shall observe to do in the land which Yahweh, the Elohim of your fathers, has given you to possess it, all the days that you live in the earth. You shall surely destroy all the places in which the nations that you shall dispossess serve their Elohims, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. And you shall break down their altars, and dash in pieces their pillars, and burn their asherim with fire. And you shall cut down the engraved images of their Elohims, and you shall destroy their name out of that place. You shall not do so to Yahweh your Elohim. But the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there, even to his habitation shall you seek. And there you shall come. And there you shall bring your burnt offerings, and your sacrifices, and your tithes, and the heave offerings of your hand, and your vows, and your freewill offerings, and the firstborn of your herd, and of your flock. And there you shall eat before Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall rejoice in all that you put your hand to, you and your households, in which Yahweh your Elohim has blessed you. You shall not do after all the things that we do here this day, every man whatever is right in his own eyes. For you haven't yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which Yahweh your Elohim gives you. But when you go over the Yarden, and dwell in the land which Yahweh your Elohim causes you to inherit, and he gives you rest from all your enemies round about, so that you dwell in safety, then it shall happen that to the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose, to cause his name to dwell there, there shall you bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings, and your sacrifices, your tithes, and the heave offering of your hand, and all your choice vows which you vow to Yahweh. You shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim, you and your sons and your daughters, and your men servants and your maid servants, and the Levite who is within your gates, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you. Take heed to yourself that you don't offer your burnt offerings in every place you see, but in the place which Yahweh shall choose in one of your tribes, there shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I command you. Notwithstanding, you may kill and eat flesh within all your gates, after all the desire of your soul, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you. The unclean and the clean may eat of it, as of the gazelle and as of the hart. Only you shall not eat the blood, you shall pour it out on the earth as water. You may not eat within your gates the tithe of your grain, or of your new wine, or of your oil, or the firstborn of your herd, or of your flock, nor any of your vows which you vow, nor your freewill offerings, nor the heave offering of your hand. But you shall eat them before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose, you and your son and your daughter, and your manservant and your maidservant, and the Levite who is within your gates. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim in all that you put your hand to. Take heed to yourself that you don't forsake the Levite as long as you live in your land. When Yahweh your Elohim shall enlarge your border, as he has promised you, and ye shall say, I will eat flesh, because your soul desires to eat flesh, you may eat flesh after all the desire of your soul. If the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose, to put his name there, be too far from you, then you shall kill of your herd and of your flock, which Yahweh has given you, as I have commanded you, and you may eat within your gates, after all the desire of your soul. Even as the gazelle and as the hart is eaten, so you shall eat of it. The unclean and the unclean may eat of it alike. Only be sure that you don't eat the blood, for the blood is the life, and ye shall not eat the life with the flesh. You shall not eat it, you shall pour it out on the earth as water. You shall not eat it, that it may go well with you and with your children after you, when you shall do that which is right in the eyes of Yahweh. Only your holy things which you have, and your vows you shall take, and go to the place which Yahweh shall choose. And you shall offer your burnt offerings, the flesh and the blood, on the altar of Yahweh your Elohim, and the blood of your sacrifices shall be poured out on the altar of Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall eat the flesh. Observe and hear all these words which I command you, that it may go well with you, and with your children after you forever, when you do that which is good and right in the eyes of Yahweh your Elohim. When Yahweh your Elohim shall cut off the nations from before you, where you go in to dispossess them, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, take heed to yourself that you be not ensnared to follow them, after that they are destroyed from before you, and that you not inquire after their Elohim, saying, how do these nations serve their Elohims? Even so will I do likewise. You shall not do so to Yahweh your Elohim. For every abomination to Yahweh which he hates have they done to their Elohim. For even their sons and their daughters do they burn in the fire to their Elohims. Whatever thing I command you, that shall you observe to do. You shall not add thereto, nor diminish from it. If there arise in the midst of you a prophet, or a dreamer of dreams, and he give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spoke to you, saying, let us go after other Elohims which you have not known, and let us serve them, you shall not listen to the words of that prophet, or to that dreamer of dreams. For Yahweh your Elohim proves you to know whether you love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul. You shall walk after Yahweh your Elohim, and fear him, and keep his mitzvot, and obey his voice, and you shall serve him, and cleave to him. That prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has spoken rebellion against Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to draw you aside out of the way which Yahweh your Elohim commanded you to walk in. So shall you put away the evil from the midst of you. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife of your bosom, or your friend who is as your own soul, entice you secretly, saying, let us go and serve other Elohims, which you have not known, you nor your fathers, or of the Elohims of the people who are round about you, near to you, or far off from you, from the one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth, you shall not consent to him, nor listen to him. Neither shall your eye pity him, neither shall you spare, neither shall you conceal him. But you shall surely kill him. Your hand shall be first on him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. You shall stone him to death with stones, because he has sought to draw you away from Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. All Yisrael shall hear and fear, and shall not do any more such wickedness as this is in the midst of you. If you shall hear tell concerning one of your cities, which Yahweh your Elohim gives you to dwell there, saying, certain base fellows are gone out from the midst of you, and have drawn away the inhabitants of their city, saying, let us go and serve other Elohims which you have not known, then shall you inquire, and make search, and ask diligently. And behold, if it be truth, and the thing is certain, that such abomination is done in the midst of you, you shall surely strike the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly, and all that is therein, and the cattle of it, with the edge of the sword. You shall gather all the spoil of it into the midst of the street of it, and shall burn it with fire, the city and all the spoil of it, every whit, to Yahweh your Elohim, and it shall be a heap forever. It shall not be built again. There shall cleave nothing of the devoted thing to your hand, that Yahweh may turn from the fierceness of his anger, and show you mercy, and have compassion on you, and multiply you as he has sworn to your fathers. When you shall listen to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to keep all his mitzvot which I command you this day, to do that which is right in the eyes of Yahweh your Elohim. You are the children of Yahweh your Elohim. You shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. For you are a holy people to Yahweh your Elohim, and Yahweh has chosen you to be a people for his own possession above all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. You shall not eat any abominable thing. These are the animals which you may eat: the ox, the sheep, and the goat, the hart, and the gazelle, and the roebuck, and the wild goat, and the ibex, and the antelope, and the chamois. Every animal that parts the hoof, and has the hoof cloven in two, and chews the cud, among the animals, that may you eat. Nevertheless, these you shall not eat of them that chew the cud, or of those who have the hoof cloven: the camel, and the hare, and the rabbit, because they chew the cud, but don't part the hoof, they are unclean to you. The pig, because it has a split hoof, but doesn't chew the cud, is unclean to you. Of their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcasses you shall not touch. These you may eat of all that are in the waters. Whatever has fins and scales may you eat, and whatever doesn't have fins and scales you shall not eat. It is unclean to you. Of all clean birds you may eat, but these are they of which you shall not eat: the eagle, and the perez, and the osnia, and the red kite, and the ayah, and the deah after its kind, and every orov after its kind, and the bas hayana, and the takmos, and the seamew, and the nets after its kind, the kos, and the yanshuf, and the tanshemet, and the kaat, and the rakam, and the shalach, and the kasidah, and the anafah after its kind, and the dukifat, and the atelef. All winged creeping things are unclean to you, they shall not be eaten. Of all clean birds you may eat. You shall not eat of anything that dies of itself. You may give it to the foreigner living among you who is within your gates, that he may eat of it, or you may sell it to a foreigner. For you are a set-apart people to Yahweh your Elohim. You shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. You shall surely tithe all the increase of your seed, that which comes forth from the field year by year. You shall eat before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he shall choose, to cause his name to dwell there, the tithe of your grain, of your new wine, and of your oil, and the firstborn of your herd and of your flock, that you may learn to fear Yahweh your Elohim always. If the way be too long for you, so that you are not able to carry it, because the place is too far from you, which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to set his name there, when Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you, then shall you turn it into money, and bind up the money in your hand, and shall go to the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose. And you shall bestow the money for whatever your soul desires, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatever your soul asks of you. And you shall eat there before Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. The Levite who is within your gates, you shall not forsake him, for he has no portion nor inheritance with you. At the end of every 3 years, you shall bring forth all the tithe of your increase in the same year, and shall lay it up within your gates. And the Levite, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you, and the foreigner living among you, and the fatherless, and the widow who are within your gates, shall come, and shall eat, and be satisfied, that Yahweh your Elohim may bless you in all the work of your hand which you do. At the end of every 7 years, you shall make a release. This is the manner of the release. Every creditor shall release that which he has lent to his neighbor. He shall not exact it of his neighbor and his brother, because Yahweh's release has been proclaimed. Of a foreigner you may exact it, but whatever of your is with your brother, your hand shall release. However, there shall be no poor with you, for Yahweh will surely bless you in the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you for an inheritance to possess it. If only you diligently listen to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe to do all this mitzvah which I command you this day. For Yahweh your Elohim will bless you as he promised you, and you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And you shall rule over many nations, but they shall not rule over you. If there be with you a poor man, one of your brothers, within any of your gates, in your land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, you shall not harden your heart, nor shut your hand from your poor brother, but you shall surely open your hand to him, and shall surely lend him sufficient for his need and that which he wants. Beware that there not be a base thought in your heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release, is at hand, and your eye be evil against your poor brother, and you give him nothing, and he cry to Yahweh against you, and it be sin to you. You shall surely give him, and your heart shall not be grieved when you give to him, because that for this thing Yahweh your Elohim will bless you in all your work and in all that you put your hand to. For the poor will never cease out of the land. Therefore I command you, saying, you shall surely open your hand to your brother, to your needy, and to your poor in your land. If your brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold to you, and serve you 6 years, then in the 7th year you shall let him go free from you. When you let him go free from you, you shall not let him go empty. You shall furnish him liberally out of your flock, and out of your threshing floor, and out of your winepress, as Yahweh your Elohim has blessed you, you shall give to him. You shall remember that you were a bondservant in the land of Mitzrayim, and Yahweh your Elohim redeemed you. Therefore I command you this thing today. It shall be, if he tell you, I will not go out from you, because he loves you and your house, because he is well with you, then you shall take an awl, and thrust it through his ear to the door, and he shall be your servant forever. Also to your maidservant you shall do likewise. It shall not seem hard to you when you let him go free from you, for to the double of the hire of a hireling has he served you 6 years, and Yahweh your Elohim will bless you in all that you do. All the firstborn males that are born of your herd and of your flock you shall sanctify to Yahweh your Elohim. You shall do no work with the firstborn of your herd, nor shear the firstborn of your flock. You shall eat it before Yahweh your Elohim year by year in the place which Yahweh shall choose, you and your household. If it have any blemish, as if it be lame or blind, or any ill blemish whatever, you shall not sacrifice it to Yahweh your Elohim. You shall eat it within your gates. The unclean and the clean shall eat it alike, as the gazelle and the hart. Only you shall not eat its blood. You shall pour it out on the ground as water. Observe the month of Aviv, and keep the Pesach to Yahweh your Elohim. For in the month of Aviv, Yahweh your Elohim brought you forth out of Mitzrayim by night. You shall sacrifice the Pesach to Yahweh your Elohim of the flock and the herd in the place which Yahweh shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. You shall eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shall you eat matzah therewith, even the bread of affliction. For you came forth out of the land of Mitzrayim in haste, that you may remember the day when you came forth out of the land of Mitzrayim all the days of your life. There shall be no yeast seen with you in all the borders 7 days, neither shall any of the flesh which you sacrifice the first day at even remain all night until the morning. You may not sacrifice the Pesach within any of your gates, which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, but at the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. There you shall sacrifice the Pesach at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that you came forth out of Mitzrayim. You shall roast and eat it in the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose, and you shall turn in the morning and go to your tents. 6 days you shall eat matzah, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to Yahweh your Elohim. You shall do no work therein. 7 weeks shall you number to you. From the time you begin to put the sickle to the standing grain shall you begin to number 7 weeks. You shall keep the feast of weeks to Yahweh your Elohim, with a tribute of a freewill offering of your hand, which you shall give according as Yahweh your Elohim blesses you. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim, you and your son, and your daughter, and your manservant, and your maidservant, and the Levite who is within your gates, and the foreigner, and the fatherless, and the widow, who are in the midst of you, in the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose, to cause his name to dwell there. You shall remember that you were a bondservant in Mitzrayim, and you shall observe and do these statutes. You shall keep the feast of booths 7 days. After that you have gathered in from your threshing floor and from your winepress. And you shall rejoice in your feast, you and your son and your daughter, and your manservant and your maidservant, and the Levite and the foreigner, and the fatherless, and the widow, who are within your gates. 7 days shall you keep a feast to Yahweh your Elohim in the place which Yahweh shall choose, because Yahweh your Elohim will bless you in all your increase and in all the work of your hands, and you shall be altogether joyful. 3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of matzah, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of booths, and there shall not appear before Yahweh empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you.